listening to The Mortgage Scientists, exclusively on the Pod Station.
Hi, I'm Dave Forrest.
I'm Chris Hume. Together, we are the Mortgage Scientists.
Episode 3, Chris. We're going to talk about a really important subject today, first-time buyers. I was going to say, how does it feel to stare that first purchase in the face? What does it look like? Where'd you start?
I remember my first purchase, 1996 it was, back in the day, but I went to a broker.
Really?
Absolutely. I was 24 years old.
Wow.
The thing is that it's such an unknown. You've never done it before. It's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. You need help, you need guidance, you need support. Parents were there to help phenomenally. But from an advice point of view, getting the right structure, the right mortgage, the advice was absolutely critical. And I remember that easing that process such a lot. And I didn't really have to think about things too much. I was guided, not dictated to, and that was a massive thing for me, and I learned an awful lot from that process of my first purchase.
Well, that's interesting because I did it totally the opposite. So mine was 1993. I was just going to start in the industry, I think. I decided to buy a house just before getting into our industry. We decided to apply with our bank that we'd set up a joint account with. I didn't go. Maria went at the time. We weren't married. Came back and said, I think we've got a mortgage. It's great. And that was it. I never actually went in the bank. So I suppose that's the total opposite. We both learnt from those processes the way to do it going forward.
Yeah.
And I think, promoting ourselves, I think the best way is early on, sit down with your broker, start to discuss what are your ideas. Because buying a house, whether you're doing it first time or second time, I always say it's an emotional process, isn't it? It's where you're going to live,
Totally.
Family, all that stuff. And I think just sitting down and getting your dreams out on the table and then talking about the practical things you can do so you're not scared. I believe the best part is knowing the terminology that's going to be thrown at you. There's going to be so much come your way, isn't there?
And there'll be so many participants involved as well. There'll be estate agents, valuers, surveyors, solicitors, brokers, sellers. So there's all these people that will be involved. And ultimately, who's got your back? Your broker has your back.
I think that's probably one of the things that people don't see out there. If you were to explain what a mortgage broker did, in a little nutshell, you're there to get that loan to buy the house. But all us in the broker community, it's much more than that, isn't it?
It is. It's an entire project management from first meeting up with that dream of owning your first home to actually getting the keys and opening a bottle of fizz and a bottle of red when you first move in and kind of look in and say, well, this is ours, this is our home, you know.
And then beyond as well, beyond
Absolutely.
that, going forward. The process, and certainly obviously in England, Scotland, slightly different from the when you buy a house, which maybe we can cover at some point. The process doesn't change too much. We've talked on this podcast about technology. Technology doesn't help the process so much, does it? It stays pretty much the same. You've got to do the same things.
Yeah, whether you're buying for first or second time, the process is very, very similar. But obviously, if you're buying for second time, you've got a house to sell as well as one to buy. But I think the first time buyer is probably more daunted by the process than a second or third or fourth time buyer.
You're literally just waking up one day, right, we're going to buy a house. How do we do it? I'm sure that's the question. How do we do that? And if you've got someone like us involved, we can walk you through the steps that you're going to have to take to even get to the point where you're ready to actually go and view some properties. I always find that's a bit of a strange thing. You know, I've done it. I bought a house on one viewing. I think me not going to the bank, there was one where my wife didn't come to the house and we bought it. Whether that was a good idea or not, I don't know, but it's getting just up to that. How do you go and view a property? You know, because no one really tells you that, do they? But we educate our clients on how to do that.
On how to do it. And again, I think the first thing before we get to this step is, listen to episode 2 of the podcast, Get Yourself Credit Ready. This next step is really about understanding what to do at a particular time. And like you say, Dave, the first port of call is understand from your broker how much can you borrow, but not just how much can you borrow, how much will a lender throw at you, but how much can you borrow affordably. This affordability phrase is one that headlines everything that you make decision-wise, and identifying that budget that you can afford to pay on a month-to-month basis, month in, month out, day in, day out, is probably the bit that you set in stone. Decide on that budget, and for me, you will then structure all of the other variables around your mortgage borrowing around that budget.
Because I'd say that's probably one of the first things we'll do, and sit down with someone and ask the question, what is your budget for what you want to do? I think that's a question some people don't like to ask. Maybe in other industries, what is it you would like to spend, or what's the cost you'd like to commit to it? A lot of other industries won't ask that question. I think that's That's one of the first things we ask is, have you done some figures? Have you looked at what bills will be? You're going to buy this house, it's not just about the house, is it? It's what bills you're going to have each month, council tax, all
electric,
that. You've never had this before. You've lived in a house with your mum and dad. Would be nice to go back to, I think, sometimes, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? My lads certainly have a good time at home, living in a hotel. That's not going to be the fact. And just to go through the process, get in the house, and then suddenly realise it's too late.
There's all these bills.
Yeah, what's this going to do? Can I still have a life? Can I afford all this and still live? No good strapping yourself with a big mortgage, live in a house, but you can't do anything. But that's where our expertise comes in, and using different tools to make that happen, and then going forward.
It is. It's needed more now than ever before. We've talked in a previous episode about how mortgages were pre-credit crunch 2008, and at that time lenders would probably take your salary or your income and multiply it by 4 or 4.5 times, add in the cat minus the dog and all this kind of stuff to work out how much they would lend you. Very quickly after the credit crunch, it was realised that that's not the right way to understand affordability. So in 2014, the Mortgage Market Review brought in affordability models. This is where lenders will look at not just your income as a gross figure annually, but they'll look at your net figure. What have you got going out in student loans, pension contributions, childcare costs? What other committed expenditure do you have towards mobile phones, car insurance, credit cards, personal loans, these kinds of things? So this affordability model now is very different than the 4 or 4.5 or 5 times income that we used to see. But it's still amazing how many clients we'll see for the first time that still ask, so what are the multiples I can borrow, Chris?
It's still that thought that that's how it works. And again, this is where things are so individual, aren't they? And where you've got to plan for the future. Kids of a certain age, they're going to become less expensive, if you like, or less of a burden further on. So can we use that to your advantage? And it's looking at all that rather than just say, giving someone a mortgage for today. It works, it fits, done. That's not how we work. And this is where the science and the mortgage scientists come in. That's where I believe it is a science, because it's so individual, putting everything together and coming up with this solution. Going back to my first mortgage, fun enough, it was a 25-year mortgage. I do believe in the day, that's all you got, wasn't it? It was almost like an off-the-shelf, here's your one. It's the same as everybody else's. Where nowadays, we're designing them all different to match in with the budget and salaries and what people have got. Different salaries or different ways of getting paid. They might get a bonus where they could afford a bit more at some point. And it's future-proofing it, not just doing it for today.
Yeah, mine as well, 25
years. Funny enough, yeah.
Mine was a 1-year fixed rate with Halifax at 6.09 with a 2-year tie-in. But that fit for me at the time, and that was perfect. Yeah. The advice that I got was that fit for me, but it also fit on what was affordable. But it is making sure that whatever you commit to on that affordability amount is the amount that you can afford to pay. Now, we should remember here that that figure is not only to pay an amount to the lender, that figure also has to cover the associated costs that link in with the mortgage, because you'll now be responsible for a building. So you need to insure that building. You may want to insure the things you want to put in that building, your laptops and your clothes and your TVs and all that kind of thing. But probably more importantly, you'll want to insure yourself if your income stops for any reason, if either of you pass away or you're seriously ill. All of these things need to fit within that budget.
The budget's the crucial thing, isn't it? I'm sure you have over the years, we've all had clients where you've said, I think you're actually stretching your budget too much. I think you're pushing too far. At the moment, you probably need to be around here rather than there, or there's a different way of doing it, or you have lots of people who do a little bit of budget before they come and see you, and it's quite good that they're being quite conservative with where they're looking, and you can say, well, actually, I think you could go a little bit further and get the house of your dreams rather than the one you think you can afford. So it works both ways as well.
And again, when we're analysing pay slips, bank statements, we're looking at income and expenditure. We're looking at what the real world is in our professional view, as well as understanding what the client feels comfortable with as well. That will guide us towards a whole range of lenders. Some will lend more or less based on circumstances. But that's really your first port of call, isn't it? Before you start to knock on the estate agent's door and say, Mr. Estate Agent, I want to go and view that house.
It's one of those myths where, the lenders don't look after people, the big banks, all that sort of stuff. When you're with a broker, we've got the professional knowledge and qualification and the regulation and everything that we can say no. We're not an industry where you come along and say, I want that. And we say, oh, yes, thank you, yeah, we will do that. That's not how we work.
Well, we're responsible for what we advise people to do. That's the thing behind it. If you get it wrong by going to a lender directly, that's hard cheese. You've got it wrong by going to a lender directly. We are responsible to make sure that the advice we give is absolutely right for you.
I think that's where the whole industry, we probably need to promote it a bit more out there. Is it's not just you're a mortgage broker or you're a mortgage arranger, you're advisor, you're giving advice, you're advising someone to do. And quite often, I know you're the same as me, it's, I wouldn't do that, I'd do it this way.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, that's what you've got to do.
We're just going to go to a commercial break. We'll be back after this short message.
Do you have a passion, hobby, or expertise and want to share it with the world? Why not do a podcast? The Pod Station offers a wide range of packages to make this a reality, ranging from training and support for those who have no idea where to begin, to podcasters who just need somewhere to host their show. With prices starting at a mere £15 per month, you can now get involved in one of the fastest growing entertainment forms in the world without all the headaches. To find out more, visit thepodstation.co.uk/station-packages. And remember, those with passion, podcast. This episode is sponsored by Dunkin' Biscuits, a biscuit lover's guide by Chris Hugh.
It is. I think that's the part of us helping the client make the move forward. And again, when the client first makes that phone call to an estate agent, I think a lot of people saw the BBC Panorama programme recently that highlights just how difficult it can be to deal with estate agents. Don't be put off by the estate agent. One of the things that we do for our clients is we will liaise with the estate agents from day one of you wanting to view that property. We will help you when you want to make an offer, and we will be there as your support in that process.
Yeah, myself, I know I've done viewings with clients, first time buyers, and I'm going to view a house, what do you think? I say, well, I'll come along and have a look with you, because you're getting a feeling for it. We don't just transact mortgages, we're involved in this important part of someone's life.
It is.
I think that hopefully that comes across, and that's the way we work. As a first time buyer, there's so much going to happen to you that I think if you can sit down from the very beginning, just get a little bit of knowledge. I certainly, with my clients, I always say, look, I want you to walk away from here feeling 100% more confident than when you walked in. We're going to go through everything, but I want you just to feel confident that you've got a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of understanding of some of the words that you're going to hear, so that when that's said to you, you go, oh yeah, we remember that.
And one of those words or phrases is agreement in principle.
Yeah, agreement in principle, decision in principle, mortgage certificate. There's so many of them, isn't there? That's what everyone wants, don't they? I always say when we're talking to clients, there's a few straightforward questions are in their mind before they come in. Can I have it? How much is it going to cost me? And when am I moving in? Yeah. And the first one is, can I have it? Now, we're going back a bit now. I remember going for a loan for a car with NatWest, and I put my suit on and went down to NatWest and had a meeting with the bank manager. That used to happen, didn't it? When you were even just getting a personal loan. Now, he did say no, because again, he thought I was too young. I can't remember, I was 17, 18, wanted to buy a car, and he said, no, I don't think you're where you need to be at the moment. No, you can't have a loan. Imagine that nowadays. Probably put a complaint in, wouldn't they? You know what I mean? But so again, I think that still exists, doesn't it? Especially for first time buyers. Can I do it?
It does. I have to admit, I do have a downer on physical agreements in principle from lenders, largely because it's just an opinion from that one lender based on some arbitrary information that a system says yes or no. Yeah. We both know when a lender gets a full application and looks at the pay slips, looks at the outgoings on the bank statements, looks at the intricacies of a case, that agreement in principle is largely not worth the paper it's written on. We also know that you can go to one lender who's at the top of the rate tables today, get an agreement from them, and next week when you want to actually apply for the mortgage, their rates are nowhere to be seen because they're too busy, they can't give the rates, and somebody else is in first place. So you're back to square one. My thoughts on agreements in principle are that, well, we've reviewed the payslip, the bank statements, the credit files with a critical eye across a wide range of lender criteria. There's no better comfort from our point of view that a client can do what they're looking to do than our professional judgment, rather than a shiny piece of paper printed off a lender's website.
As a direct borrower, if you like, if you can go to a lender over the phone, get a decision in principle, but that's dictated by what you tell them. I'm sure yourself, people get paid different ways. Someone can run a lender, well, I earn £80,000 a year, but it's not £80,000 a year, it's £40,000 a year with a bonus. That changes it, doesn't it? I think if you come into us, again, we're doing that upfront work. I actually see us, we've been around a long time, so we've worked for different organisations. I see us as an underwriter for the lenders as well as a broker. We're not just throw it in and see what sticks.
We have to give our best judgment on whether we think that case will go through.
Yeah.
If we don't think it's going to go through with that lender, we need to look at the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one.
And also, we're monitored on stuff we do with lenders. If we're throwing a load of stuff into lenders and it
doesn't
never
go.
goes ahead, that lender's going to then say, well, what's going on here? I know all the brokers we know, that's how we work. It is that first underwriting bit and saying to someone, well, look, I can see this is going to change. So many times you'll have a client coming out, well, I've done a decision in principle.
That's fine.
Not a problem. Did you tell them that? Oh no, I just did that bit. Well, that's not always going to work, is it? So.
It is, and again, I think this is where the decisions in principle, if you've got one, fine, don't worry about it, it's not a problem. But I wouldn't necessarily seek one.
No.
When a client does find a house that they want to make an offer on, by all means, we're happy to help and get involved at that point. But once you've got your offer accepted, that's when it comes to the point where we're going to fine-tune which lender, which rate, which structure. That will be our next meeting with the client.
We'll always say this across everything we talk about. We're not just borrowing £10,000 here, are we? This is a lot of money. I think the rest of the industry tends to want to push for speed. Yeah, speed's important and time is important. People don't want to wait a long time, but I always think as a mortgage scientist, we need time to do our science. I'm in favour of saying, right, we're where we are now, we need our time to do what we do. But we're always pushed by the other sides of the industry or the house buying process, aren't we? Look, if you've not done that in 10 minutes...
We can be. I think our connection and communication with the estate agent themselves...
Yeah, I think that's important.
Absolutely works wonders because it puts the seller's minds at rest.
Yeah.
We can then move on to the next stage of getting the application into the lender.
Yeah.
And from there, the lender is going to want to do a survey or evaluation of the property. Now, they're really not interested in whether it's in cosmetically great condition. What they're bothered about is it worth the value that they're lending against? And are there any major deficiencies with it? If it's worth what the purchase price is, they're generally going to be happy as long as there's no structural major issues with it. They will probably go with that. But I don't know about you, Dave. I think we both look at additional surveys, additional information for clients, depending on the age of the property they're buying.
Well, I think this is one of the good changes the industry's gone through. Again, back in the day, you always used to have to pay for your valuation with the lender.
Yeah.
Now, some lenders still do charge as part of their process for evaluation. A lot of the more mainstream, if you like, don't. The valuation is free as part of the product. Again, some do charge, but a lot of them don't because it is only a valuation, isn't it? I think this is probably the one thing that people do get confused with is they say, oh, my surveyor's going out on Tuesday. No, the lender's valuer's going out if he's going out because some are done online now. And it's just an opinion on the price of the property. Depending on that property, how old it is and all stuff like that, are you going to then get an independent survey to look at it? Because I always say, no estate agent puts a house on the market and says, here's a lovely house, but the roof's falling off.
Absolutely.
That's not really going to sell the house, is it really? So, and again, we're talking about buying something that's emotional. I think when you first go and view a house, if you like it, you're actually already living in it in your head, aren't you? Because you like it and you want it. It's a want. Houses are a commodity. There's not many of them. You're in a race against other people and you can see yourself sat on the sofa. And we've all done it. You go home, don't you? And you're already living there and you haven't even bought it yet.
There was some research done many years ago about buying habits. Not to say anything about our spouses and buying habits of shoes, but this is genuine research done many years ago. On average, the length of time taken to buy a pair of shoes was 4 hours.
Right.
The average length of time to buy a house was 13 minutes.
Jesus. Right.
Because you walk through the door and immediately you feel...
You feel like it's that feeling, isn't it? It's the right one.
It is, but joking aside, from a research point of view, you do get that feeling when you're walking out.
You get that straight away if someone has gone to see a property, they like it. It starts straight away, doesn't it?
Not necessarily looking at whether the walls are wonky or there's cracks in the whatever, or there's the drain pipes are leaking. That's where, if a property is really more than about 10 or 15 years old,
you need to be looking a little bit more in depth.
You probably want to get a more detailed survey. Won't go into the details here, but there are different levels of survey depending on the structure, the condition, and the age of the property. Chances are you may want to look at the quality and the structure of the property in more detail before you start spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on something that may have a hidden cost behind it.
And again, that's not a decision we can make as your mortgage advisor. We can
guide.
We just guide. We give you information, don't we? And we say, these are the choices you've got. It's your choice at the end of the day. You can do it that way or that way, but I think you've got to give that option.
Yeah. I think it's handy that we work with national firms of surveyors that we can refer clients to, that if they want to talk to somebody, is a qualified surveyor who can give them the guidance on it.
It's no longer just go in the yellow pages and find a surveyor. We've got firms out there who will look after you. I say talk to them before, talk to them after. Doing that, you're going in with your eyes open, which I think over the whole control of this. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is, and alongside this sort of process going on, you're also going to have your solicitor involved, conveyancer, solicitor, whatever you want to name them. They're also going to be doing certain checks on your behalf, finding out more about the property. So where the surveyor, the valuer, is looking at the physical structure of the property, your solicitor is looking at the legal structure of it. They're going to check out whether the next door neighbour has put planning permission to put a two-storey extension up next door that's going to block the light on that lovely patio
that you buy,
that you've set your heart on.
Yeah.
These things will be going along hand in hand. Like you say, part of our role there is we'll liaise with the solicitor, we'll liaise with the lender, we'll liaise with the estate agent, we'll project manage all of these things that are happening side by side. Hopefully by the time all of these bits are completed, the mortgage lender has done their bits. They've looked at your pay slips, your bank statements, the survey, and said, we love this. There's your mortgage offer. There's the money in writing, if you like, isn't it?
That's in place. For instance, I think today I've got a first time buyer and a client sent me in, I think it's drainage and water report from the solicitor. It's 100 pages.
Yeah, the environment reports.
That is amazing, that is just that. There's so much more, isn't it? And while we're not experts in that side of things, the client's looking over it, you can take a look over it, discuss it with them. While that's not really in your remit, that's part of what we do, and it's making sure that they do just check things like that. The solicitor's going to highlight anything in there that's the problem, but just helping them understand some of this.
It is, and sometimes it's helping them understand what questions to ask of the solicitor.
Because clients will say, this might be a stupid question. I always say, there are no stupid questions. There just aren't, are there?
No.
Because there's so much. We're quite lucky. Well, I don't know whether I'll ever move again, but even over the few times I've moved, you've sort of understood it. We're quite lucky. We do understand it.
Yeah.
There is so much involved.
There is. Once you've actually got that mortgage offer from a lender, that's not really our job done, is it?
No, so much. You are walking people to the front door with the keys, really. I think that's part of the job we do enjoy. Yeah. While it is almost extracurricular, it's not what's in the contract, I suppose. To be honest, I do believe if we didn't do it, there's no one out there to do it.
No, because the chasing of the legal process is probably one of the biggest bugbears that we have.
Yeah, because it still is an archaic sort of process, really.
And certainly from the purchase point of view in England and Wales, is that until you exchange contracts, the seller can pull out from selling you the house at any time. Yeah. Now, that's a big risk if you spend money on lender fees, surveys, legal fees, all this other stuff. Kind of keeping everybody informed and project managing it properly is really, really important. But when you get to that point where the solicitor says, right, here's the contracts, send me your deposit, we're going to exchange contracts, that's the point where it becomes real for you. Exchange of contracts, that terminology only comes from way back in the day when two solicitors literally had their clients' contracts in their hands. They walked down the street to each other and exchanged physically the contracts, but the terminology has stuck. So exchanging contracts is the point where your new house is legally yours, you're committed to the purchase. Normally all the money then changes hands in the following week and you complete and get the keys the week after. And that's pretty much, in a short-ish nutshell, buying a house.
We'll obviously work with people, help them through the process. Everything's electronic nowadays, isn't it? So like you said, those two solicitors used to exchange contracts. That doesn't happen. Most people don't go into the solicitor's office anymore. It's all done by apps and online and stuff. But you're still getting the same amount of information. I always think a risky part is that sending over the deposit and the transfer of money and stuff like that. And I think helping clients with that is important as well.
Send £10 first.
Send £10 first. Check it. Make sure it's okay. I think that's it on this. That's a lot to cover.
It is a lot to cover, but we could probably go into an awful lot more detail. It then becomes very personal and individual to the first time buyer that we're talking to. That's where you then start to become very more individual and personalised.
So we're getting into this now. Any questions out there? Drop us a
WhatsApp.
Cover it on the next episode. We're there to answer some questions. If anybody's got any out there, get them into us and we'll cover it. Well done, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Dave. See you later.
See you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
To find out more, email info@themortgagescientist.co.uk.